What songs did you sing along to as a kid only to realize as an adult the lyrics are full of sexual innuendo? I was very young when Fleetwood Mac's Second Hand News was huge on the radio, and I loved that song. Asked my mom what the lyrics meant, and without the slightest pause told me it was about a cat going to the bathroom with her version of the chorus, "Won't you lay me down in the tall grass, and let me do my stuff," followed by meow 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 meow. For years I thought that song was about a cat taking a shit. It's not. My first grade teacher called my dad in after school cause I used my show and tell time to sing the Spice Girls hit "To Become One," which my sister had playing all the time. Didn't get in trouble or anything. Dad thought it was hilarious but told me not to do that anymore and told my sister to be careful what she plays around me. Oh yeah, also I'm a dude. Radio Disney had a version of this. It was disturbing. A little bit of Minnie in my life, a little bit of Mickey by her side, a little bit of Donald all I need, a little bit of Daisy what I see, a little bit of Pluto in the sun, Huey, Dewey, Louie can't go wrong, a little bit of Goofy everyone, a little bit of him makes life so fun. That is hilariously awful. My mom told me knew from when she was a kid what fornication is because she found an illustration that showed two frogs mating titled "Frogs Fornicating," looked the word up in the dictionary, and loves to laugh at whoever decided to title that picture with the word fornicating instead of something sensible like mating, since, you know, frogs have no morality to apply to such things. My Nana was so shocked when she picked me up from kindergarten and we were dancing to it and all the moms were smiling and saying how cute we were, because she was the only one who actually understood the words lol. When I asked her why it was bad she said it's about a very dirty girl. You shouldn't be singing that. Fun story. When I was in elementary school in the early 80s our music class had one day a month that we could bring in our own records from home and play one song for the class. In the interest of music appreciation we would then discuss the song we played, like a kind of show and tell. Since this was the early 80s, Grease was huge in that way that things just aren't anymore. Everyone had that soundtrack. Families went to see it together or watched it on cable. Every house that had a piano had the sheet music and the soundtrack was at every house you went to, friend and family. Grease was universal. Everyone had seen it and everyone loved it. Grease was, in fact, the word. So it wasn't at all weird to us when my friend Chris brought in the soundtrack and for his song played Greased Lightnin'. Just a cool song about a really cool car and how cool the cool car was. Cool. We're like 6 years old and all bobbing our heads and a couple of us are doing Travolta moves from the movie. Cues again. This was a movie not only everyone had seen but had often seen multiple times, with their family no less. We had it memorized. So we're like a third of the way in and the teacher freaks the fuck out and record scratch and she grabs Chris and they are off to the office and the rest of us are in stunned silence. Later we find out Chris is sent home for bringing in a dirty song. But it's not a dirty song, it's Greased Lightnin'. It's about a cool car that is cool. It's not dirty ... is it? So naturally, kids being inquisitive and all that, we form a committee to explore the validity of her accusation. We're getting together after school and listening closely and starting and stopping the song, but what really helped was getting older brothers involved. That changed everything. Getting lots of tit like ... boob. Oh man, Chixel cream. I thought it was scream. Well, what the hell does screaming mean? Long story short, but still long. If Mrs. Olsen could have chilled the fuck out for another minute and a half, over 30 children would have gone on not knowing nor being curious about the fluid dynamics of female ejaculate and that would have been that. Greased Lightnin' would have just kept on being about a really cool car. Great work, Mrs. O. We tried to get approval to do Grease in high school. There was an objection to it a few years earlier. We had to go to the superintendent. His answer was, "There is way too much talking and singing about sex for that to fly here. I love the play and the movie is iconic but I love my job here and I would like to keep it as long as I can." However, the summer theater program run by the Parks and Rec department has way more leeway. It was the first time remember having someone be that honest with me, or the group of us, As a teen, we did Little Shop of Horrors. Grease was done in the summer and the superintendent was at all 3 shows we did. My 8-year-old self definitely thought that song was about having friends sleep over. Edit. I want to add an ironic story. My most vivid memory of this song is dancing in my living room to it with another girl. That girl was the daughter of one of my birth father's new friends. I only saw that girl a couple times. He was having a sleepover like the song intended. We were having a sleepover like how my 8-year-old brain processed the song. Hell yes, I love that song. The album was the first modern music album I ever owned. I bought Thriller, around the same time I think. Because my parents didn't let me listen to radio music growing up. I loved Cindy's freestyle and norm-breaking attitude. Had I known what the song was about at the time, I would have learned that girls masturbate and orgasm just like boys and probably would have made more informed choices as a young adult. Oh well. Edit. I also really liked Darling Nikki, but I didn't understand it for a long time. At some point I wondered how Nikki was masturbating with a magazine, like was it rolled up or something? Lol. Let's get sex ed into schools please. Not me, but my mom, who's an immigrant and English is her second language, sang every inappropriate song at home when I was a kid, including, but not limited to, Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin, with her singing How She's Gonna Give Me Every Inch of Her Love, lol, and Super Freak. She thought for years that kinky girl meant curly-haired girl because I have curly hair. My mom's a fucking riot, y'all. A colleague of mine at a secondary girls' Catholic school stood up and sang Get Lucky to the whole year group on their prom day without having thought about what it meant. He even tried to get them singing along, but mid-chorus people stopped and just started staring uncomfortably at their feet. The headmistress wouldn't even make eye contact with him for the rest of the day. The lyrics goes, I'm looking in your big brown eyes but I can't hear the S in eyes. He says I'm looking in your big brown eye. That's the asshole. Come on. Some people claim that it is about raping, but I think it's just about rough sex. Some couples love rough and it's 100% fine. One day when Pour Some Sugar on Me came on the radio, my husband whispers to me if they only knew what this was about. Not 2 minutes later, the line I'm hot, sticky sweet, from my head to my feet plays and my daughter, who was about 7 at the time, yells from the back seat, this is a sex song. We sang that song in chorus in middle school, and part way through, the teacher realized what the lyrics were. He had us cross out the chicks will cream and changed it to the chicks will scream. He did not explain why at the time, just said he thought scream sounded better. It's technically not a real song, but it's from the fake boy band in Josie and the Pussycats movie, Do's Your Backdoor Lover. I used to sing it all the time when I was little and all my parents would say that's a bad song and don't sing it anymore. Promiscuous Girl by Nelly Furtado lol. When I was younger, my dad told me if I wanted to download music on my iPod, I would have to make a list so that he can manually download it onto my iPod. He saw the song on the list and he was like, do you even know what this word means? I was like, I know, but I like the song. He just looks at me to see if I was serious, and I guess he knew that I was not joking, so he downloaded it for me. Now that I know, I'm amazed he actually did that. Edit. My highest upvoted comment so far is about my dad downloading Promiscuous Girl on 13 years /Omi's iPod, THX dad. Since this reply is just gonna get buried, I'm going to share my most embarrassing moment. 2001, I'm out at karaoke with my girlfriends for a 21st birthday party. This particular establishment was directly across the road from the NBC studios in California. The owner of said restaurant came to our table and said he'd comp a round of drinks if we'll sing one song of his choosing, so we all agreed. Time comes when we're supposed to go on stage and we see the song he's chosen is I Touch Myself. Fine, whatever. I think I know the song well enough to go through with it. I jump on stage and everyone abandons me, but not before throwing a blow-up doll in my arms. I'm halfway through the first verse when I realize two things simultaneously. 1, this song is way dirtier than I had remembered, and 2, Mario Lopez is sitting 10 feet away from the stage. Somehow, I managed to get through the song, but I have no memory of what happened other than feeling like a deer caught in headlights. After fully humiliating myself in front of AC Slater, I never want to hear that song again. Not exactly the same, but when I was a kid the song Angel and the Centerfold was on the radio. Dating myself, our family dog was named Angel, and so my mother, hardcore, God-fearing Christian woman, would happily sing this song all the time and crank it up when it came on. Not really knowing any of the lyrics other than Angel and the Centerfold, and certainly not understanding what it was about. When I was in 4th grade, we had music half hour where we could bring in our records. One girl brought in Brick House, which at 9 you just dig that sound, no idea what the meaning is. So the music teacher and teacher are both leery but put it on, and 25 9-year-olds go nuts singing "Oh, she's a brick house." They let us play it out, but we could never put it in again. I imagine a class of 9-year-olds getting freaky to that, and it cracks me up. The Foo Fighters' All My Life is about going down on a girl. It never occurred to me at all until I read that Dave Grohl said in an interview, "That song is a little dirty." Use your imagination. Once you realize it and read the lyrics with that in mind, you can definitely see how dirty it is, even though it doesn't seem that way. I don't like how people purely point out this line because it's barely scratching the surface of how adult this song is. Just read these entire verses. "I'm a blonde bimbo girl in a fantasy world, dress me up, make it tight, I'm your dolly, you're my doll, rock and roll. Feel the glamour and pink, kiss me here, touch me there, hanky-panky. You can touch, you can play if you say, I'm always yours, ooh, oh. And this, make me walk, make me talk. Do whatever you please, I can act like a star. I can beg on my knees, come jump in, bimbo friend. Let us do it again, hit the town, fool around, let's go party." And at this point we've covering about 70% of this song because of the repetition. So I'll stop there. Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah is all about sex. Here is a little sample. What's really going on below, but now you never show it to me, do you? And I remember when I moved in you and the holy dove she was moving to, and every single breath we drew was hallelujah. So whenever anyone uses this song in a religious context I have to laugh. Edit spelling. The fact that poor child was being raped repeatedly by her mentor, producer is something that seemed to go unnoticed for far too long. Hindsight is certainly 20/20, but it's got to be pretty insane when your predator that's been grooming you since you were a preteen tells you that your next album will be called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, then proceeds to urinate on children, launch a sex cult of nothing but minors across the country, then use funds to extort families, force NDAs on families who do interviews, then lose your absolute shit during your own interview while claiming to be the victim. Not many people know what this song is about, they just know the Pina Coladas chorus. But yeah, it's about a guy trying to cheat on his wife and responds to a personal ad to meet up, obviously before Tinder, and it ends up being his wife. And he looked at her and said, "I never knew that you liked Pina Coladas." When I was 4, I was given a small AM/FM radio by my parents. I loved listening to it. I fell in love with the song, Sexual Healing by Marvin Gaye, and memorized all the lyrics. I would naively sing it out loud all the time. I was in daycare at that time, and I remember my daycare teachers asking me to perform that song in front of everyone cause I did such a good job with it. I feel like nowadays, that probably wouldn't fly. Physical. Olivia Newton-John. The music video was so like an 80s workout video. I took it at face value. My parents even let me record it at a boardwalk singing record spot. Have that cassette tape somewhere. A few years ago, my son and his fellow Catholic school third graders thought Take Me to Church was about going to mass. They couldn't understand why their teacher wouldn't let them use it for a talent show routine. Longview by Green Day. My parents played a lot of 90s rock for my sister and I growing up. We kicked along to Longview whenever we were in the car, and our parents thought it was funny. When I was in high school, I was a bassist for a 90s cover band, I was 17, and the only one under 40, and we were figuring out some new songs to spice up our set list, and I suggested Longview, since it had a cool bass line. They busted out laughing, and asked if I knew it was about masturbation. We still played the song, but I began to question what music my parents introduced me to. Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel. I was just a few years old when it came out, but I loved the song and loved the music video. My parents say I would jump all around when the song came on the radio, singing "I Wanna Be Your Sledgehammer." It wasn't until a few months ago, at age 36, my wife informed me it was just about his dick. Some lyrics: "You could have a steam train if you'd just lay down your tracks. You could have a Big Dipper going up and down. All around the bends you could have a bumper car. Bumping this amusement never ends. I wanna be your sledgehammer, why don't you call my name?" This evoked a deep self-cringe feeling of me coming back home, on an empty street and singing Pretty Fly to myself, only to be greeted by my neighbor and my parents' friend. He was deeply disturbed. "So was I." "You're just singing to yourself?" he asked, and I nodded and ran away. I managed to forget it. It all came back now with that deep, rotten feeling of uck. My 5-year-old used to sing that one a lot, and he likes to announce he's home by singing "Guess Who's Back, Back Again." "One Way or Another" by Blondie is another favorite of his, along with "Believer" by Imagine Dragons, "Best Day of My Life" by American Authors, and "Bad Romance" by Lady Gaga. Not even innuendo, just full-on sexually explicit lyrics. Somehow my parents were big Alanis Morissette fans and listened to "You Ought to Know," not realizing I was absorbing the lyrics like a sponge. Apparently I used to swing on the swing set while singing such gems as "Another Version of Me," "Is She Perverted Like Me," "Would She Go Down on You in a Theater," when I was like 3 years old. Night Moves by Bob Seger. That song has a lot of nostalgia for me as a kid growing up on classic rock, and I always thought it had a profound meaning I didn't understand. I mean, the composition really does reflect an intensity and pensiveness, but it's just about two kids having sex any chance they can. Maybe the song has personal weight for Bob Seger, but as a listener I was disappointed when I realized the topic. I ruined Katy Perry's birthday for my 12-year-old daughter last year. She was singing, "So Let Me Get You in Your Birthday Shoes," and I explained to her that the lyrics were actually, "So let me get you in your birthday suit," and that she was talking about getting the person naked. She was horrified. A couple of minutes later she comes back to me and asks, when she says it's time to bring out the big balloons, she's not talking about actual balloons, is she? After I explained that she was talking about showing the other person her breasts, my daughter said, "I don't think I like that song anymore, D." When I was about 6-7 years old, my mom took me to the store to get me a new CD. A lady there helped us and my mom asked me what I wanted. I asked for one with the song "Sex Bomb" by Tom Jones, but we went home with some kid's CD instead. I later understood why my mom was so embarrassed that day, and now she loves to bring it up to embarrass me instead. Foreigner, Hot Blooded. This single came out in the late 70s, but I think I got the 45 around my 8th, 9th year. Would have been around 1982. We had an allowance to spend $1 on, and my choice was, and still, music. That's why I'm hot-blooded. Check it and see. I got a fever of 103. Come on baby, do you do more than dance? I'm hot-blooded, hot-blooded. I was of course, singing, yelling along to the music blaring. I think I got to play the single a few times at somewhat loud volume. That was about all it took for my Bible-thumping mother to make me throw it in the fireplace. At the time my mother said I was pretty upset over it, but it passed in a few days. There were many other bannings later in my youth, but this one stands out. You and Her Hand by Pink. I absolutely loved this song when I was 11. I remember one time it came on the radio when my mom and I were heading somewhere, and she wanted to change it, but I was like, no, I like this song. I heard the song a couple of years ago after not hearing it for a few years, and I was like, oh my god, I get it now.